another episode of Gov Tech Today. I'm Russell Lowery.
And I'm Jen Saha.
And together we try and bridge the gap between .com and .gov. Okay, we had a major shakeup in NASCIO's top 10 list that is going to get a lot of attention.
Making waves.
Making waves. But why don't you start with, what is the NASCIO top 10 list?
So NASCIO, the National Association of State CIOs, every year surveys all 50, I think it's 51, I think they include like a couple of territories, survey them on what their top 10 policy and technology priorities are for 2026, for the year to come. They put those together, mash them together. They've been doing this for, I think, like 12 or 13 years. It's been long running. We've had Doug Robinson as a guest on the podcast in the past. And so Doug is the executive director of NASCIO. And so every year it's like everyone waits with bated breath for this list to sort of see how things have been shifting.
Right. And so the list comes out and we're all anxious on seeing what's on the list. It can shape our sales, what's top of mind for the folks that we're talking to. And obviously cybersecurity is at the top of the list. And then we go to the rest. And now,
guess what's at the top of the list?
What's at the top of the
Not
list?
cybersecurity. For the first time, this is 12 years cybersecurity has had a run at the top of the list. I mean, I feel like we talk about it all the time. I feel like everyone in GovTech talks about it all the time, but AI is at the top of the list this year.
So when NASCIO puts out that list, and no one's shocked. If it wasn't going to be cybersecurity, you'd expect to be AI to be at the top of the list. But when AI is such a broad topic, what information do we glean about what do they mean AI is at the top of the list? Comprehensive, particular aspect, element, what is it?
So they kind of group together AI, Gen AI, agentic AI, and machine learning. So it's sort of a grab bag of all the fun AI terms. But I think everyone is sort of grappling with how we're going to use AI in government. And certainly the state CIOs are right now, as it's a top policy priority for them in 2026, is figuring out how we're going to deal with this.
Okay, so we're going to try and touch on each of these items on the top 10 list, and we definitely don't want to, spend a couple hours on the podcast, even though you can do a deep dive. But why don't we just touch on what each one is and what the concern that's captured in the priority list represents. So number 2 is cybersecurity.
Yep.
Anything change or jump out at you with regard to cybersecurity?
I mean, sort of beyond being unseated, no. I mean, it's front of mind for everybody, mainly to keep yourself out of an awful situation, right?
When you say awful situation, oftentimes in government, they're thinking stay off the front page of the LA Times.
Exactly, yeah.
No one wants to be
the LA Times test.
LA Times test. In the private sector, the dollars, resources, people lose their jobs over breaches and hackers and that sort of pirate ransom type of things. So is there any nuance we can pick? What do the state state security officers, what are they identifying within the cybersecurity realm?
Well, I think certainly AI to me on this list is sort of an umbrella kind of approach, because cybersecurity is having tunes of AI that are dynamically changing the way that we're defending our state systems, but also the way that attackers are coming at our state systems. We've talked about cybersecurity with respect to how AI is helping the cybersecurity efforts. So while cybersecurity is number 2, I think like considering AI as number 1, meshing those two together and having a different outlook on how we're securing ourselves as governments.
I see the relationship, and we'll talk more as we go through the list. None of these is isolated. It's not like any information officer in the state or in the nation is only worried about AI or only worried about cybersecurity. Number 3 on our list is budget.
Yep.
and cost. We're aware of the budget situation in California, facing a deficit and navigating that. Is that playing out across the country, top of mind for everyone, or?
I mean, I think it is. It sort of depends. It's worse in certain states than in others, but budget was number 6 last year. And so it has crept up to be number 3. And I think that is reflective of everything from the economy to the Mag 7 stock market and to the federal government and funding allocated for technology purposes. So there is a lot of uncertainty, which is making everyone be a little more conscious of budget and spending.
And when I've always looked at budget and budget tightening as bullish for tech. I think the tech community has some real solutions that can bring cost savings and a better delivery to the state. So it might take some more work where you're not just doing sort of a features and benefits presentation, but putting it into the state's priorities. But I never looked at it as a major impediment
Right.
for getting a project done.
Yep.
Number 4 on the list is modernization, which we've talked about in a previous episode. But we have legacy systems and people are updating and upgrading.
Yep. Replacing, upgrading, improving incrementally over time. It's always a priority, right? We are a little behind the curve when it comes to government. We have systems that are 20 years old, and that's terrifying for a number of reasons. So modernization is always going to be a priority. It's the big dollars that go into this. And even on a previous episode, we've talked about how you can get creative with those dollars and sort of change that maintain into modernize.
And I encourage listeners, if you didn't catch the last episode, shame on you. But go back and find that one, because Jen was able to surface some really good opportunities under what might look like a boring maintenance and operations contract, where you can drive some real change, and some leaders are taking a proactive stance within that contract to make things better. Definitely encourage that one. Number 5 is the provision of services, digital government services.
This was a new one to the top 10.
So it debuts at number 5.
It debuts at number 5. There have been sort of aspects of this over time, but in last year, this wasn't on it. And I think California is doing a ton of work in this area, specifically, human-centered design. What are the citizens enhancing, and how are the citizens consuming data, and what are we as a government doing to be able to meet the citizens where they need us most? So I love to see it on here. I think it's probably one of the things that government overlooks in a lot of cases. Like, this works for us, but does it work for the man or the woman on the ground that's consuming government services? And that's often sort of left behind.
Similar vein in access to the services is number 6 on the list, accessibility. What does that term encompass under this survey result?
So there have been some federal changes as it relates to accessibility that I think is driving a lot of the focus at the state level. At California, we already had accessibility requirements that predated those federal ones that are going into place, but a lot of states are playing catch up in this area.
Okay, so this more reflects a national response to some federal changes than California has been ahead of the curve in that area. I know we think about it all the time in our...
But an incredible opportunity for vendors, right? Same thing happened in California when accessibility requirements came down. It was, how can we as a vendor community help government get to where they need to be when it comes to accessibility?
Number 7 on the list is both actually 7 and 8 that we'll be talking about. I'm surprised that they're as low as they are, but number 7 is identity and access management. How are we defining that?
I, like you, am a little surprised that this is so low. First of all, number 8, I'm going to kind of lump these together.
Okay.
Number 8 was number 4 last year. And I thought number 4 was low for data and analytics. I think when we had this conversation last year, I was like, this should be number 1. I don't know how it's number 4. And man, shocked to see that this year it's number 8. I mean, if you don't have identity and access management figured out, and you don't have a strong data management or analytics groundwork laid within your organization, number 1 doesn't work. Number 2 doesn't work. Number 3 doesn't work. None of those others work. So this is a little alarming to me. Like, I want to grab these CIOs and shake them and be like, please, please look at number 8 and number 7 and figure these out before we try to figure out the rest of this list.
I will. There's a huge vendor opportunity. Number 8, data management is one. I kind of geeked out. Wendy Batchelder wrote a book on data management. It's a couple years old now, but it was transformational in my thinking that if I could drive one change in the state, everything else you want to do in the state is built on top of a base of how clean is your data, how organized is your data, how do you gain insight from your data, and the state produces massive quantities.
Yep.
But wrestling it is hard. Wrestling it is hard. There have been some forward-thinking folks who have tried to wrestle their data and sign contracts for it, and the vendor community, at least on the projects, a few projects that got let, wasn't really able to wrestle it. They weren't able to clean it up or get it in shape, and it's not sexy and headline grabbing, but it really is the foundation of everything else.
It is. I mean, AI will not be successful with bad data, no matter how much of it you have. It will not be successful.
I think the cybersecurity implications are obvious. Are you defending stuff that doesn't need to be defended? The more you've got, and where is it stored, housing, all of those cybersecurity issues. But I think one overlooked element in the budget, if you're concerned about budget and cost, if you drill down on your data, I know that there are state agencies who have duplicative storage of certain data. They access and are charged access fees for a massive pool of data that they may not have accessed in decades.
Right.
That they're paying premium storage and premium cloud access and migration, where if they manage the data and they put it in cold storage, they could save money that might be available for every other priority in the budget. I'd love to talk to people who ranked it lowly and at least have a conversation on where the thinking was.
You won't shake them. I will shake them. You will just have a conversation.
So number nine is consolidation and optimization. And what that sounds to me like what you were talking about on modernization in number 4. So how is modernization?
I think it's that a little bit. I think it's also touches on the budget, right? If we have limited dollars, can we buy one system that serves 5 different programs as opposed to building 5 systems for those 5 programs? And this also is reflected in data, right? Do those 5 programs that have 5 systems share data? Are they interoperable with each other? So I start to think about, a statewide system, a statewide contract. This also touches on citizens and how we're serving them. No wrong door. I come to one place and it serves a bunch of different departments. So consolidating from that standpoint. From a vendor standpoint, it's awesome if you're the owner of that one system. It stinks if you're any of the other system owners. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? The consolidation, the having one system, enterprise contracting type of mindset.
When I saw that, I think of it in terms of it was a buzzword. I thought maybe it was more in the technology sales space, but Palo Alto was one of the leaders in talking about platformization of cybersecurity. There's hundreds of different tools, different technology stacks, and creating a platform where you consolidate fewer tools, consistent interface, and hopefully a better end product at the end.
Yep.
That would fit under that. And that might be a cybersecurity bucket, but that also just might be a networking and a
Yep.
broader look at that.
I mean, the sort of platformization of like softwares in general is, I think, a trend that we're going to see consolidating. So I'm going into one system instead of 12.
Right.
And what does that look like from a vendor standpoint? It gets a little messy and a little sticky.
I remember had a conversation with a state agency. I won't name the agency, but in the initial conversation, they announced that they were a Microsoft shop, and I was like, I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Maybe if they competitively bid it and where it's well informed.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, awesome if you're Microsoft.
Right.
Stinks if you're anyone
Anyone
else
else.
or you build on anything else. So
It was helpful. I took it as helpful, and obviously I could tell when I pulled up their tech data stack that we kind of look at every state agency, see what they've got installed.
Yep.
No, you're not going to rip and replace everything they've got
Right,
installed.
right.
So you make that. But I was surprised to hear them say
Yep.
it. So that
Yeah.
makes sense. Number 10 is not going to come as a shock to anybody. It's been a decade-long migration. I'm not sure it'll be a one-way migration, but cloud services.
I mean, no big surprise here. It's not, again, it's sort of faded in its sexiness quotient down to number 10. It was number 8 last year, so we're creeping down there. But I think cloud is going the way that I see AI going in 10 years, which is like, it's not really its own thing. It's just in everything. And it's the same thing with cloud. Like, yeah, you can have a cloud. It's fine. Like everyone offers it now. Everyone is using the cloud at some
Right.
level now. But I think it's also the mindset. We went through phases of this in California. It was cloud first. And now it's cloud smart and cloud when it makes sense to be cloud. So figuring out sort of your governance around what's going to be cloud and what's not, and getting the data to where you want it to be to live on whatever system you want to live you want it to live on, I think is sort of what we're getting at here.
We're going to have most systems are going to be hybrid of some kind and description and a ebb and flow of what works best, and it's going to impact everything else on the list. So starting with AI and ending with cybersecurity, ending with cloud services seems to make some sense.
It does indeed.
All right. Well, thank you for that informative walk through the NASCIO top 10 priorities.
And thank you for state CIOs for answering these surveys every year, and for Doug and the team at NASCIO for doing a great list that we all get to chat about
And learn from.
Yep.